All right, hello there, 3M math students. We did the sine law last lesson. One of the equations we can use to solve non-90-degree triangles. Well, today you're going to learn about the cosine law, which is another equation that we can use. And so your goal today is to be able to use the cosine law to solve non-90-degree triangles. Now, why would we need another equation to solve this? Well, if we look at this triangle, we don't have two pairs of angles and sides. We have one angle, one side, and one side. So we don't have an angle and a side and another angle and a side to work with. So this means we can't solve this triangle with what we know. We can't use Pythagorean theorem. We can't use SOHCAHTOA because those all deal with right angle triangle. And we can't use sine law. So that's why we need to introduce another law for non-90-degree triangles, and that is the cosine law. So we can use the cosine law in this instance, and you're going to use this in a couple different situations. The first situation is when you have an angle sandwiched between two sides. You have a side and then an angle and then another side. And the way I like to remember this is coleslaw, so cosine law, goes well with the sandwich. If you don't know what coleslaw is, it's a type of salad that often is served with sandwiches in restaurants in North America. So if you've never had it, you should give it a go. Um, okay, so let's see what the cosine law is. So the cosine law is this: c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2 times a times b times cosine c. Now this looks a little complicated because it's a large formula, but it's nothing you can't handle. All you have to do is figure out what sides you have and what angle you have so you can find the third side. So in this case, C is going to be our unknown side. So that's the side we're trying to find. A and B are the sides we already know, and big C is the angle we know. So let's do an example with this. So let's go back to the triangle we were looking at before, and we're going to find side length C to 2 decimal places. Now remember, our sides have the same letter of the opposite angle. Okay, so little b is going to be our 11 and little a is going to be 8. So if the law of cosines is stated like this, if we want to find our unknown side, c squared is going to be a squared plus b squared minus 2 times a times b times cosine of big C. So your first step is to put in all the values that we know. So anytime we see an A, that's the one across from angle A, so we're going to put in 8. So we got an 8 here and an 8 over here. Anytime we see a B, we're going to put in 11 because that's the side across from angle B. So it's 11 here and 11 here. And C is our angle C that we have labeled. Okay, so now we have everything put in, and now we need to do some calculations. I like to do this in groupings. I like to do it this term first, so 8 squared is 64, 11 squared is 121. And then what I like to do is I like to do the 3 terms in front of the cosine. I like to multiply those together first. So you can think of that's your negative 2ab. Don't forget about that negative in front. Okay, so negative 2 times 8 times 11 gives us negative 176. And then I do my cosine 37 separately, which is 0.798. And then once I have that, I can multiply these two numbers together and add all of these together. So I get 44.44. If you have one of those really nice calculators that you can just put all this in at the same time, Go ahead and try it, but just make sure that you're getting the right answers that I'm getting here, okay? Now, don't forget, this is c squared is equal to 44.44, and it kind of goes on. So the third step is to take the square root to get the final answer. And we were asked to get it to 2 decimal places, so our final answer is 6.67. So it would be very wise of you to put these numbers into your calculator to make sure you can get the same answer as me. So that's how we can find unknown sides with cosine law. Now, what about finding angles? Let's say we have a triangle like this, we need the angle, but we have all 3 sides. Well, now we can use the cosine law again, we just need to rearrange it. So if you ever have a triangle that has all 3 sides, that means you can use the cosine law. And you can find any angle you want, but today we're asked to find angle C here. So let's take a look at the cosine law equation again. So to use this to find angle, we need to get cosine C all by itself. So you can imagine I need to get rid of a squared and b squared first by subtracting them and then dividing by negative 2ab. You can write down all those steps if you'd like, and I'm happy to go through them for you. But the final equation becomes this. Cosine of C is equal to a squared plus b squared minus c squared, all divided by 2 times a times b. Now again, this looks a little complicated because there's a lot of terms in it. But because the triangles give you these numbers, all you do is simply put the numbers in it and then solve. So there's the equation. Don't forget A, B, and C are the sides that we already know. And C is the angle we're trying to find. Okay, so let's do an example here. So we'll go back to that triangle. So let's start with our equation, our cosine law to find angles, a squared plus b squared minus c squared all over 2ab. So now our next step is to put in the numbers for all of our letters. So little a is the side across from angle A, so 9. So I put 9 in for all my a's. For B, I'm going to put in 5 because that's the side across from big B. So all my B's are 5s. And then C is going to be 8. That's across from the angle we are trying to find. So that's here. And so this is 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 8 squared, all divided by 2 times 9 times 5. Okay, so let's do some math. So 9 squared is 81, 5 squared is 25, and 8 squared is 64. Don't forget there's this negative sign in front of it, so you need to carry that down. 2 times 9 is 18 times 5 is 90. So I have these 3 numbers in the numerator then. I'm going to combine them all. So that's my next step. So if I combine these 3 numbers, I get 42 and then divided by 90. And so 42 divided by 90 is 0.46666, I think. Now the last step, don't forget, we need to use our inverse cosine to find C now, to find our angle. So big angle C is going to be the inverse cosine of whatever our number was here. And if you put that into your calculator, you should get it to be 62.2 degrees. So that's how you can use the cosine law to find an angle if you have all 3 sides. So what I'm going to show you here are all the variations of the cosine law. So I just showed you the equations that had C on the left-hand side. And the reason why I did that is because you don't actually need to know these other versions. Because if you think about, this is my equation for the side I'm trying to find, then wherever A and B are, those are the sides we have. And C is the angle we have. And that's the same up here. If I'm looking for this side, these are the sides we have. That's the angle I have. So you really only need to know one version of these, but just in case, I've written them down here for you so you can have all three versions. And same for the angle equations. Okay, so again, you can see, notice the pattern here. For the angle I'm trying to find, these are the two sides. These are the three sides I know, but notice the one that's negative is the letter that matches the one over here. And that's the same in all of them. So again, you don't have to memorize these. You will be giving them on a test or whatever in the future, and on the quiz, you will be given them. But just know you don't really have to know all 6 of these. You really only have to know 2. Okay, so that's it for the lesson. You can take a look at day 17 in the Cycle 3 practice booklet. The answers are provided in there so you can practice your cosine law. And once you're feeling good with that, you can go ahead and give a 3.9 quiz on Brightspace a try. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know using that envelope icon in the top right-hand corner of Brightspace. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.